Hi, everyone. This is Rabbi Steve Wernick, one of the rabbis at Bet Tzedek Congregation in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Hope everybody's doing well and is continuing to manage this COVID-19 crisis well. Remember, stay home, stay safe, stay healthy for yourself, your families, and also for the public interest. This is, I think, week 8 for us in Toronto. Of being in isolation in our homes and practicing physical distance. But as we like to say at Bet Tzedek, we may be physically distant, but we continue to be spiritually near. And one of the ways in which we do that, one of the ways in which we remain spiritually near is by remaining in contact and communication with each other. What a blessing it is to live in a day and age in which we have this kind of video conferencing technology, the ability to see each other and to hear each other and be at least in digital contact and spiritually near at the time of this crisis. I know that lots of people have used this technology, as have we, for running religious services, for schools, for programs. Just last night, my wife Jody and I had dinner with friends via Zoom, opened a bottle of wine, sat at the table and schmoozed. Of course, it's not the same, and we look forward to the day when we'll be able to be both spiritually near and physically near. But until that day comes, we'll continue to do our part, because after all, we know as Jews that pikuach nefesh dochevet hakol, that the preservation of life, not only our lives, but the lives of our community, push aside really all of the other mitzvot. And so we'll continue to manage as best as we can. I want to welcome you. It's now 12:30, so welcome formally to Conversations Over Coffee. This is a relatively new Bet Tzedek All Access program happening every Monday at 12:30, in which I reach out to interesting people, friends, acquaintances, colleagues, and invite them to join us online for 30 minutes of conversation, just a way to kind of break out the day and start the week with interesting people and find out what's going on in their lives and the ways in which the work that they do hopefully impacts and inspires us to maintain our sense of self and sanity at this moment of COVID-19 crisis. Today's guest is Neshama Carlebach. Hopefully we'll be back with us soon. There she is.
I'm here. Hi, Steve.
Okay. Today's guest is Neshama, who's a longtime friend. It's been, I don't even know how many years, but I remember we first met, you were doing a concert at Camp Ramah in the Poconos. And that's when we first met. And then since then, we've maintained in contact and become really close friends and colleagues. Thank you for joining us today. First of all, how are you doing?
It's a mixed bag, I'm sure, like all of us. I feel very emotional because I know my mom is on this Zoom with us. This is, I think, her first official Zoom. She hasn't been able to figure it out. And I feel really blessed that she's here. My mom has been alone this whole time, as so many of you, I'm sure, are. And I have no words for how heartbreaking that is. I am blessed to be with my husband Menachem and with our 5 children, which is a different layer of blessing. Also beautiful and complicated, and nothing is simple right now, Steve. Nothing. We're just every day we go between gratitude and sorrow, and distress and relief. Yeah. How are you?
You know, when people ask me how I am, my answer usually is I'm managing.
Yeah.
I think it's that what you said is true. I mean, like in general, we live on the nexus of simcha and sa'ar, right? I think that's the human condition. And in moments of extreme crisis like this, that comes out so much more starkly.
Yes.
I have 2 kids that are here with us in Toronto, my almost 22-year-old and my 19-year-old. My 19-year-old just finished painting her bedroom.
Wow.
because she needed a project that was going to take her a little bit of time. And she did actually, she did a really good job and didn't destroy the carpet. So it's like, that's a win. um, but it's hard. It's hard for all of us. But at the same time, as you said, the beauty of a religious life is every day you wake up and you recite a bracha, and a bracha ultimately is about acknowledging God in our lives and gratitude. We wake up and the first thing we say is Modeh ani lefanecha. And so you go through that roller coaster of ups and downs, of anxiety and gratitude. And then the other thing that I think about always is that one of the first calls I made was to a Holocaust survivor, and I asked her how she was doing. And her response was, Rabbi, I'm in my warm home. My refrigerator's full. I have caregivers and family looking after me. And during the war, I was alone. I was scared. I was starving and I was cold. And so I'm thinking like, okay, I'm being asked to watch Netflix.
Right.
Not so bad. Not so bad.
I know. Perspective is all things, right?
What's the age range of your kids?
So, I have issues with pronouns, but we are working on it. So our children range from they're 9, 12, 13, 14, and 18. Yep. Like something very beautiful. Each of them have, I'm sure, for all of you listening, and feel free to chat, by the way, if anyone wants to say something at any point. Oh, you're on Facebook. You can't.
Well, we're monitoring it. So if people want to ask a question, they can ask a question in the comment section of Facebook or in the comment section of YouTube. Just hashtag conversations over coffee. We'll get it and we'll ask it if we can.
Awesome, perfect. So I am just on Zoom, so I will not see, but you can, if anyone has anything to say, we welcome. Um, Menachem's daughter, my stepdaughter, said to him the other day, I don't know what day it is. I don't know what day it is. And he said to her, it's today. And that was a very profound thing for me to sort of hear from the corner of the room. Yes, it is today. And yes, we're managing, all of us, and how grateful I am that we have this technology that can bring us together in these moments where we feel so separated and isolated. And yes, some of us are alone, and some of us wish we were alone. But
Some of us wish we had more alone time.
it's true. And grateful for all of it. And yes, it is today, and what a gift today is. 100%.
As a rabbi, I hear that and suddenly it's a high holiday sermon. It's like, I'm singing in my head. Hayom, 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 hayom. Right?
Right.
It's today.
We don't know what, to live in yesterday is counterintuitive. To live, in anxiety about tomorrow is counterproductive. And all we have is this moment today to be present in. So there you go. You've written it. You're good.
Well, all the mental health professionals say the same thing, right? That what causes the greatest amount of anxiety at this moment is the unknown. And there's so much uncertainty in terms of when we're going to be rolling out of this. Will there be a second wave? Will we have to go back into home isolation? I mean, all these questions that are just unanswered because we don't know. We have to just monitor how things go. That the advice is to really focus on Hayom, focus on the things that you can control,
Yes.
and make a schedule of things that you can accomplish. To be mindful of the moment, as you said, is really important in terms of self-care and well-being and shlemut. Um,
Yes. Yes, all of that. And I read there was a study done that one of the most important things people can do for themselves right now is yoga. And I want to highly encourage that to all of you out there, that if you're not a yoga person, if you're not a meditator, there is something so special about plugging into yourself, feeling the breath, feeling the mindfulness. I think across the board, the studies are showing that people who do yoga have more inner peace and shlemut at this moment than people who don't. So just a high recommendation. I don't know where I would be without my morning yoga.
I was going to ask, so it sounds like you have a regular yoga practice.
I do. I mean, it's amazing. There's no time right now. So like the kids, they used to go to bed. Now it's like, What time is it? What day is it? I feel like everyone's up to like midnight. I used to wake up between 4:30 and 5. That was my morning. That was my usual, not that we're unusual at all, but I would get up and I have a beautiful, next time we talk, I'll show you, a beautiful office with windows and I would watch the sunrise and it's crazy early, like stupid early. But I loved watching the sunrise and I loved having that moment of breath before the other six people I live with wake up and descend. And I still love it. And it is literally like what grounds me. It takes away my body pain. It takes away my heart pain. That's one of the things that I can tell you is absolutely saving me right now.
So I wanted to ask you, I'm now at, in Toronto at Beth Congregation, which I understand is in your old hood,
It
that you
is.
grew up in Toronto in the village. Um, what was it like growing up here? What are some of your memories?
I love Toronto. We had a few homes. We ended up living in the village down, closer to downtown. When we were younger, we lived Glencairn and Bathurst. So like in the middle, I remember it. You know that bowling alley? Remember that bowl? Is that still there? That bowling alley? It
I'd
was
have
like
to go look. I've
you have
only
to.
been here for a year. It's like
I don't. There was something like
It's
I
not
said.
there. The building was torn down.
Oh man, probably for the best. But it was
Jay's
like
Bowl. It was called. Yeah, it's torn down.
literally probably for the best. So we lived right there. I went to school at Eitz Chaim, which is a whole other conversation. Was a very hard place for me to be in elementary school. Then I went to Chat, which I really really enjoyed, Chat. And then for college, I went to Ryerson first, and then I ended up going to York. So I sort of had all of my little areas, and I traveled a tremendous amount with my dad and with all of us. We would spend the summers in Israel. I loved Toronto and I still do. I get very homesick sometimes. But it's weird because my family's not there anymore. So it's like that strange dream of, going back to your hometown, but your house isn't there and the streets are different and you walking in circles. And I get very homesick when I see Loblaws for some reason. I get very nostalgic. I love Loblaws. It's a great store, you guys. Seriously. I appreciate Loblaws even now.
well, they're doing home delivery now, so it's
See that? Will they bring to New York? That would be great.
we'll have to find out.
Love Toronto. Some of my cousins are still there. I just, it's like this warm, cuddly, warm blanket from the dryer kind of feeling for me. Toronto.
I am. I grew up in Winnipeg, actually. So I'm from Philadelphia, but my father was a rabbi in Winnipeg. I grew up there for junior high and high school, and I remember that when I went back after like a decade, it just this the whole town seems so small.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Toronto, of course, is a big city, but like Winnipeg is, I think, only like 8 miles from the south end to the north end, and so it's still very much that nostalgia feeling. But you're right, without family living in a place, it's a very different kind of relationship.
Yes. Yes. And because I guess we're all feeling a little bit philosophical, there really is. I mean, we know in the end that family and the relationships are the most important thing, but especially now. There's nothing more important. I kind of walk through my day like, do I miss that? Yeah. Can I live without it? Totally. Like the only thing that I really like, we need our basic, the foods that our kids will eat and not cry about missing other, like those things that we need. But like even with my kids, like they're learning, with our kids, they're learning to make do and they're learning to appreciate life in a really different way. And I want to believe as a spiritual person that there is some kind of learning or tikkun or some kind of healing to be had from this moment. But yes, in the end, it is us. We are the holiness. We are the glue. We are the love. We are the reason. And yeah, being anywhere, doing everything in the world would be nothing without those relationships. So I just keep praying that I think I knew that before personally, but really that the whole world, like it just kind of marinates into us during this time of pause, that we realize how important family is.
And in human contact in general. You know, I see people taking social distance walks and sitting on driveways, and here in Canada, the measurement is 2 meters or a hockey stick length, right? So everybody, so like all the signs show, like you're in Canada when it says 2 meters or the length of a hockey stick. um,
Love it.
but it's like that's the thing that as a social person, I mean, it's like we were really not made to be alone.
No.
To have private time, to have alone time, mindfulness, meditation, for sure, right? To renew and recharge our souls. But that for me is like one of the hardest things. It's just, these Zoom dinners and everything are nice. It's nice to catch up, but it's just not the same. And I'm just looking forward to that, to being able to get back to that.
Me
Um,
too. Me too.
so I wanted to say Mazal Tov, right? You won just another award recently, the Independent Music Award. Tell us about that.
I'm blown away. What an honor it is to be acknowledged by the music industry outside of the shtetl. Love the shtetl, but it's a very cool thing.
Yeah, this is not a Jewish Independent Music Award,
No,
right? This is the Independent Music Award.
if it was Jewish, it would be dependent.
Or codependent.
Oh my God, Steve, start it. That's it. That's a lot of nominees. Oh man. Yeah, so this is like the Indie Awards, so it's like the Grammys for people who are in niche markets. But the win that I got, it was the Vox Pop, it was the Voice of the People Award in the Adult Contemporary category, which is an amazing win. It means that I was a fan favorite. It means that people are resonating with my performance, with my heart, and that just makes me cry because that's all we ever want is that that the things that mean so much to us that we put out there, that they be received in the right way. So it was one thing to win, another thing to also be a fan favorite was like, oh my God, thank
how,
you.
how do you get nominated for that?
I don't know. I'll tell you, I made the first level of the Grammy Awards several years ago. I was not nominated. They called it an entrant. And I received this letter that I was an entrant, right? Like, so it was, I guess, hundreds of thousands of people in each category. And then they break that down into 40. And then those 40 broken down. I don't know how that happened. I'm blessed that it did happen. But it was also like, I don't understand how it happened. I don't know how the world found out about it, but it was just a gift. That's how I see this. I'm honored that I guess they enjoyed it. So thank you, Independent Music Awards, for acknowledging and for loving us. That's all an artist could ever want, right?
Um, I, I think, all of us in some way, shape, or form look for that kind of acknowledgement and love, but certainly as an artist, to put your creativity out there and a bit of your soul to be acknowledged in that way has to be a real thrill.
Yes, it's very vulnerable in the end. Like I would think all of us need acknowledgement for sure, but there's something about the people who are artists. I'm saying even people who are bakers or like you need to know that the gifts that you put out are being eaten with joy. It's just yeah, it's a problem. But thank God and yay and thank you for being proud of me, Steve. That means a lot.
Well, I'm always proud of you, Neshama. Um, how where do you find your inspiration?
I'm inspired by everything. And that I know that that's a very general comment, but I'm inspired by the little things that my children share with me when they wake up and they tell me their dreams that they had overnight. That inspires me. I'm inspired when I wake up and I'm not in pain. I had a really bad car accident several months ago. A no fault accident. Someone made a hard left turn into my car. My little boy was in the back. And he was okay. And I'm here. And there are days that I wake up in tremendous pain because I've had whiplash and now I can't really get my treatments. When I wake up and I'm not in terrible pain, I am so grateful. And then I think about all the people in the world who are in pain and I pray for them. And I'm grateful that I can pray for them. And then I do yoga and I'm grateful. And then I make breakfast and that makes me grateful. And every single thing that I do in my day, I'm just sort of like I'm walking, sponging in the light and the inspiration wherever I can find it. Because I need it so desperately. And also, to be very real with you, I spent many, many years in deep sorrow, not able to see out of like my own little sad world. And I found joy much later in my life, probably just a couple years ago. I was a little bit late in developing my own sense of self. And since I woke up to me, and since I woke up to love me, every single thing inspires me. Everything. And there is no difference now. Now it just sort of compounded with sorrow and worry and, you know, all that stuff. But that feeling of inspiration and gratitude doesn't leave me ever.
What comes first, the lyrics or the music?
I write lyrics. I don't write music in general. I arrange music. So I've been really blessed in my life to work with people who are brilliant creators of music, and then they allow me to kind of get my hands in it and play with it. This new recording I wrote with Beth Stiles, who is just an intense, gorgeous visionary. And like really, she closes her eyes sometimes, and I know she's somewhere else. Like she's like this great, deep well of channel and inspiration. And so sometimes I had a lyric and I brought it to her. Sometimes she had a piece of music and she brought it to me. And then we collaborated on the music and we collaborated on the lyrics as well. There is no rhyme or reason to creativity. I think it's just when you're blessed enough to find the right combination.
So tell us a little bit more about Believe, this song that won the award. Um, Tell us what was the process of coming to that.
So Believe actually began as a song that Beth had written. It's called In the Light, which is the introduction, and they call it the intro and the outro to the song, like the beginning and like the book end. And it's a candle blessing that she created, and it always spoke to me. And I said to her for years, Beth, I feel like there's something else being born from this melodies, from this moment. And she thought about it, and when we came in, Jackie and I, my business partner, who is, you know, the three of us were sort of enmeshed in this process. We came in one day and she's like, what do you think? And she played it and we both like fell over. We were like, oh my God. That was how the music was born. And then we worked on the lyrics for a long time. We changed it, we edited it. It's a little bit of a chunk of a song. We thought of shortening it. It felt so organic. And it was just a process. But then my guitar player came in, Dylan Condor. He came into the studio and recorded early, and it just sort of opened the whole thing, so that actually the guitar that we have on here is his demo guitar. It was so stunning. It was like every once in a while, like you have the people that come in to give their magic to the music that just, it's like, ah, you know, everything just explodes. So between Beth's vision and the way that we laid it all out, and then the choir came on, and oh my God, you know, once the choir comes in, you know, there's no going back with them.
Mhm.
They are some of my greatest inspirers for sure. The people that I sing with. And yeah, and then Believe came down, and I feel so blessed. We all do, my whole team and I, that the world has resonated with the melody, with the words, with the message of coming together, of seeing heaven in each other's eyes, of believing. And maybe that's the message we need now, you know, almost more than ever.
I would certainly find that message inspiring. Will you bless us with a rendition of Believe?
Yes, happily, happily. You should see my setup here. I have like my speaker, but this is actually the track. This is the actual music track. You can hear the whole record and get more. You can also get Believe. You see this? I don't know if it's clear on Zoom, but Believe jewelry. We collaborate with 100% beads to create a whole line of Believe. It's my handwriting, the same as it is on the graphic of the record, and also a T-shirt that I designed myself. I was very proud, because I want to wear the word believe. I don't want to stop believing. I spent my whole life, as I said, in a lot of darkness and not believing in much. And once I began to believe, it's almost like everything just gets in its best alignment.
And
So
when you say believe, it sounds like when you started to like really believe in yourself,
yeah,
and your own capacity and your own shlemut. when you were able to, like, find that balance, that shalvat hanefesh, that peace of mind, everything else seemed to flow in terms of happiness, relationships, love, greater inspiration, and of course the lyrics for this beautiful song.
Yes. Well done. Well done. And also, I should say that living a life devoid of confidence, but very dependent on God, was also empty for me. I grew up believing in God. I still believe in God, but it's like I didn't bring myself to that relationship. My believing in God, in the universe, is so much bigger now, so much more strong now that I'm able to fully participate.
Wow.
I fear that that's probably a place that a lot of religious people come into. Like, okay, gam zeya avor is like it's a blanket statement, or gam zula tova. It's really easy to kind of pass off. God will provide, God will take care, it's all in God's hands. But the fact is, yes, God is with us, but we must participate. We must take in, we must hold each other, we must hold ourselves, be responsible for ourselves. God doesn't earn a living if you don't have a job. Those are the people I grew up with, Steve. Like, they'd sit on the side of the road and they'd be like, well, God's going to provide. Well, you should have a job. God will help. But anyway.
Well, that's the old joke, right? About the father, the father of the bride, who's checking out the new son-in-law. He's a nice guy. He loves her very much. He's going to study at the yeshiva, and he thinks I'm God because God will provide, meaning the father-in-law will take care of him.
Oh, it's sad. It's so sad.
Let's hear a little bit of belief.
Let's hear believe. Let's hear believe. And sing along if you'd like. Let us light these lights for the world tonight. Can you hear? Let our hearts unite in the light, in the light. There is a spark in every soul, awakening. And I believe the source is love. I believe. Don't give up on everything you've dreamed. It's closer than it seems. Who among us hasn't hoped or prayed? Oh, there will come a day, and that day will make love light up the sky. And that day we'll see heaven in each other's eyes. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. I close my eyes so I can see all that can be. We will rise. I do believe. I do believe. So don't give up on everything you've dreamed. It's closer than it seems. Who among us hasn't hoped or prayed that there would come a day, that day will make love light up the sky, and that day we'll see heaven in each other's eyes. I believe, Let us light these lights for the world tonight. Let our hearts unite in the light. In the light. You can sing this part. In the light. In the light. In the light. In the
In
light.
the light,
In the
the
light.
light,
In the
the
light.
light, in the light.
I believe.
Thank you, Neshama. I believe the source is love. What a wonderful way to conclude this conversation. Thank you. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay sane, and stay inspired. We need that inspiration from you and from other artists to help us find that light and to continue to believe that the source is love and that we have to participate with God to make this world a better place. For those that are watching, NeshamaCarlebach.com. You can download the album. You can buy beads, believe beads. You can buy a T-shirt that Neshama herself had designed. And certainly we'll look for time to bring you up to Toronto and take you past where that bowling alley used to be anyway. For a wonderful opportunity for you to be with us here. That's it for today, folks. Next week, May 11th at 12:30, Jeremy Fingerman will be our guest. He is the CEO and president of the Jewish Foundation for Camp. Of course, we all know that already significant camps in North America have decided that they will not be able to remain open because of the COVID-19 crisis. There are others that are going to be making those decisions within the next couple of weeks. Certainly for people like me, who are camp people and have been camp people for a long time, and my family is camp people. It's another area of anxiety, but unfortunately, this is the reality that we live with, and we all have to figure out how we occupy our kids this summer in meaningful ways. And we look forward to camp, whether it's open for in-person contact or not, to be a major partner with us in the Jewish community do that. And Jeremy Fingerman's really got his finger on that pulse, and we look forward to talking with him about the circumstances for camps now and into the future. You can find out more about what's happening at Bet Tzedek. Bet Tzedek All Access is available from our website, www.beth-tzedek with a C. This is Toronto, so we spelled Tzedek with a C. TZEDEC.org. www.beth-tzedek.org. Thanks, Neshama, again. Thanks, everyone, for being with us. Have a pleasant week and a day.
So much love. Be well.
Bye-bye.